Hey everyone, Brian from Progressive Combat Systems here, and today I'm going to teach you how to use neuroscience to win a street fight. So today we're going to take two really cool concepts in the field of neuroscience and we're going to apply them to your fighting to make you a better fighter. Now, I already filmed a video for a small group I was doing a training session for, so rather than reinventing the wheel, here's the video. Enjoy. Okay, so Hicks Law basically is this. Can you come up for a second, Jeremy? So let's say he's going to throw a right cross, right? And I could have a parry. Go ahead and give me a right cross again. I could have a block. Give me a right cross again. I could have an elbow destruction. Give me a right cross again. I could duck my head, give me a right cross again. I could do some kind of fancy like move. I could have just tons of responses, which you typically get in a lot of martial arts schools. Hicks Law states that the more potential responses that you have to a given stimulus, the stimulus in this case was his right cross, the more potential responses you have to a given stimulus, the slower your reaction time. Good idea, bad idea? Bad, exactly. So what do we probably want to do? Probably want to narrow down the amount of martial arts techniques that we have, the amount of responses we have. So we could use something as simple as our flinch spear response. So his right cross comes, boom, cool. His left hook comes, boom, cool. He goes back, he gives me a jab cross hook, boom, 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 cool. I have one response that will work for almost anything. So that allows my brain to do less thinking about which response it's going to do, increases my reaction time dramatically. Make sense? Cool, so that's Hicks Law. Hicks Law basically slim down your amount of responses and you will have quicker reaction time. Pretty simple. Now let's move into OODA Loops. Do you remember OODA Loops? OODA, it's an acronym that stands for observation, orientation, decision, action. So for any given attack that could come at you, your brain will have to go through what's called an OODA loop. Here's an example. So Jeremy's just standing there minding his own business. Hopefully his hands are already in a up position, which they are. Cool. I decide to sucker punch. Boom. Now what we have right here is the start of an OODA loop. His brain is getting electromagnetic waves into the rods and cones of his eyes, down the optic nerve into the occipital lobe, and it's forming a snapshot, a picture of this, a fist. That's observation. It's not yet good or evil. His brain has not decided if this is a good thing or a bad thing. Right now, it's just a fist. That's the first O. It's still traveling the whole time, by the way, a lot faster than this. Then his brain says, well, is this good or bad? So it goes into orientation, or what I like to call context. And his brain says, well, it's a fist, it's traveling at my face, I might get a broken nose, I might get a tooth knocked out, it ruins my vacation next week. So I'm going to make a decision that it's bad. Okay, so that's orientation, second O. Fist is still traveling, by the way. Then his brain goes into the D of the OODA loop, decision-making mode. So it's going to go through all of its available trained responses, blocks, parries, flinch spear, etc. And it's going to pick the one that it thinks is the most appropriate. This is where Hicks Law comes in, right? Because if we have a bunch of trained responses, it's going to have to decide on one of those. And that'll slow his reaction time down by fractions of a second. But fractions of a second is usually where punches land. So if he's done a really good job of training with just like a simple move like a flinch spear and maybe one other move, his brain will have a really quick decision, Hicks Law will be on his side, and he will now make the decision to make the response. That's the D. But then we have the A, the action. That's basically the speed at which nerve signals travel from his brain out to the muscles to make his flinch spear happen. Go ahead, boom, and there we go. So that is an OODA loop using Hicks Law. So basically, here's how that is important for all of you. We want to make sure that we're always in position, we're always ready, and that we have the fewest possible responses to any given stimulus.
That way our brain can make really quick decisions, boom, and we can just go in and do what we want to do. Now, let's take a look at a typical kind of martial arts boxing setting. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fire off some jabs at Jeremy. He's just going to parry him, right? So, boom. That was one OODA loop, right? That was one OODA loop. One OODA loop. Okay, you move over here just a little bit. I'm going to give him a jab cross. Boom, boom. That was 1, 2 OODA loops. Now I'm going to straight blast him. Wham! Right? Cool. Thanks, Jeremy. I don't know how many palms I just threw, but basically here's what happened in his brain. Let's talk about this. So he's back up here. He's ready for that jab. He's ready for the jab cross. It's a little hairier. Why do they throw combos in boxing? Because while you're thinking about one OODA loop, the next one started, the next one started, the next one started, and pretty soon they start getting through, right? So that's what our straight blast did. 1, he handled it. 2, he may or may not have handled it. 3, 4, 5, and then I was able to get into where I wanted to be to do the stuff that we do, right? So that's how OODA loops work, and that's why we overwhelm people with a straight blast, right? Many years ago, I was talking with Paul Vunak, and he said, the person who wins the fight is the firstest with the mostest. I thought that was pretty profound and pretty kind of simple, like, well, duh, of course. That's what that is. OODA loops and Hicks Law, those are neurological ways that the brain works, neurological concepts, and if you apply them correctly, you will be the firstest with the mostest.
So folks, there you have it. Just remember, your primary goal in self-defense, in winning a street fight and winning a violent encounter, is to be able to maximize your potential to damage your attacker without giving them the opportunity to attack you back. If you apply Hicks Law and OODA loops, that's exactly what's going to happen. So until next time, folks, I'm Brian from Progressive Combat Systems. Train hard. See you next time.